Welcome to Brain Vision.
Okay, for this problem, we want to be able to input a series of integers and then tell how many positives, negatives, the total average, and things like that. And so the first thing that we probably want to do is just give a list of variables. Val equals 1, that actual 1 doesn't matter. I do want to know that we're starting off with 0 positives. We're starting off with 0 negatives. The total that we begin with is also 0. And then I'm just going to use the word num. That's going to keep track of how many numbers that we actually enter. And to start with, we don't have any. Now we want to do a loop. And there's a couple things we can do with the while loop. One technique I like to use for problems like this is just say while true, which could create an infinite while loop if we're not careful. But if we have an if statement that allows us to break out of the loop, it allows us to very easily test what we want. And so before we do any of that, we need to get the value, and that's going to be an input statement. And then inside the input statement is the text that you want when you're getting the value. So enter an integer, and then we say 0 when done. We put a colon in the quote, in the parentheses. And if we wanted to run it right now, we'd be able to just get a whole bunch of integers. Even if we typed in 0, it would just keep taking integers. It's not really doing anything with the integers, but we at least know that that loop is now working. And so one thing we want to do is then test that if that val is equal to 0, we want to do two things. One is we want to say actually, I don't want to do that yet. I'm just going to do a break statement right here. And that's fine. And what that does for us is when what did I do wrong? Val equal, double equals whenever we're testing. If I type in my integers, as soon as I type in 0, I'm done and the program exits, which is what we're looking for it to do. So now if we type in a value and it's not a 0, we want to increment a lot of the values. And so plus equals allows us to increment. So we're going to add 1 to number. We're going to add 1 to the positives. We're going to add 1 to the negatives. And then our total is going to be increased or decreased if it's a negative by whatever the value is. And so now what we need is we need to print, and we have two different cases. One is we have data, and the other one is we start off and we start with 0. And so if we get right here, if num equals 0, that means we didn't that means the very first input was a 0. Otherwise num would be at least 1. So therefore we can say print you did not enter any values. And otherwise we can go ahead and say print the number of positives is, and we use str to convert integers to strings. Print number of numner, I'll fix that in a second, negatives is str negatives and number. Got it. We want to say the total, print. The total is plus str total, and then print. And this one right here, I'm going to do it the easy way first, but hopefully we'll see that it's not correct and we need to tweak it a little bit. The average of the inputs is str, and to take an average you have the total divided by the number, and then let's go ahead and run that. Hopefully it'll work. Line 21, I did something wrong with line 21. I spelled the word print wrong. You guys probably noticed that. Okay, select an integer 0 when done. So first case, if I type in 0, you did not enter any values and it exits, and so that's what we want it to do. If I type in 3 and 6 and 9 and then 0, all of those look good. 3 positives, no negatives. I got to go back and fix that. Total is 18, average inputs is 6. So let me show you the error first, and then I'll go back and fix that positives and negatives thing. Because if, excuse me, if I do 2, 2, and 10, which is 14, the average of that should be a decimal, but right now our average is 4 because it's doing integer math. And so to fix that, we've got to convert these integers to floats. Which is important. Over here, I forgot my if statement. So if val is greater than 0, then that's going to be positives. Then we have else negatives, and that should work. Let's run it one more time. I used the wrong. Boom. When you're closing parentheses, use the close parentheses symbol is a good technique. Okay, enter an integer. So let's do 2 minus 4 and 99, 0. And we have 2 positives, 1 negative, 97 total, and the input is indeed a decimal value. And so that's how you would do that problem. Thanks.